Before the invention of money, early civilizations relied on a simple yet inefficient system of exchange bartering. This system, which dates back thousands of years, was the cornerstone of early trade and commerce. It allowed communities to obtain goods and services that were otherwise unavailable within their own groups. Bartering involved the direct exchange of goods and services where no standardized currency was used. Instead, people would negotiate and agree upon the value of their items. This method of trade was prevalent in many ancient cultures, from Mesopotamia to the Indus Valley, and even among Native American tribes. People traded possessions they had in surplus for those they needed. For example, a farmer with an excess of grain might trade with a potter who had more pots than they could use. This mutual exchange was essential for survival and helped build interdependent communities. A farmer, for instance, might trade a portion of his harvest for tools from a blacksmith. This kind of trade was not just about goods but also about services. A blacksmith might repair a farmer's plow in exchange for a share of the upcoming harvest. Such exchanges were based on trust and mutual benefit. This system, while functional, had inherent limitations. The process of finding someone who had the exact item you needed, and who also wanted what you had, could be incredibly time-consuming and frustrating. This inefficiency often led to missed opportunities and wasted resources. One major challenge was the need for a double coincidence of wants. This meant that both parties involved in a trade needed to possess something the other desired. If this condition wasn't met, the trade couldn't happen, leading to significant delays and complications. Both parties involved in a trade needed to possess something the other desired. This requirement made bartering a cumbersome process, as it was often difficult to find a perfect match for the items being exchanged. The more specific the needs, the harder it was to find a suitable trading partner. This often led to complex and time-consuming negotiations. Traders would spend hours, if not days, trying to find someone who had what they needed and who also wanted what they had to offer. This inefficiency was a significant drawback of the barter system. Imagine trying to find someone who not only wants what you have but also has what you want. This scenario was a common occurrence in ancient marketplaces, where traders would wander around hoping to strike a deal. The lack of a standardized medium of exchange made every transaction a unique challenge. Another issue was the difficulty of establishing a fair exchange rate. Without a common standard, determining the value of different goods was subjective and often led to disputes. What one person considered a fair trade, another might see as an unfair deal. How many chickens, for example, should be traded for a cow? This question highlights the complexities of bartering. The value of goods was often based on personal judgment, which could vary widely from one trader to another. This lack of consistency made it difficult to establish trust and reliability in trade. The value of goods could fluctuate based on factors like scarcity and seasonality, making fair trading a constant challenge. During harvest season, for instance, grains might be abundant and less valuable, while in the off-season, their value could skyrocket. This variability added another layer of complexity to the barter system. Additionally, bartering posed problems for storing wealth. Perishable goods like food could rot, and transporting large quantities of goods was impractical and risky. This made it difficult for people to save and accumulate wealth over time. Perishable goods like food could rot, and transporting large quantities of goods was impractical and risky. The lack of a durable and portable medium of exchange limited the growth of trade and economic development. These limitations paved the way for the development of a more efficient and standardized medium of exchange money. The invention of money revolutionized trade, making it easier, faster, and more reliable. It allowed for the accumulation of wealth, the establishment of prices, and the growth of economies. The transition from barter to money was a significant milestone in human history, laying the foundation for the complex economic systems we have today. The invention of coins marked a significant leap forward in the evolution of money. Before coins, the concept of money was quite different from what we understand today. People relied on bartering goods and services directly, which often led to complications and inefficiencies. Imagine trying to trade a cow for a sack of grain. The value wasn't always clear, and the logistics could be cumbersome. Early forms of currency were often based on commodities like grain, salt, or livestock. These items were chosen because they were widely accepted and had intrinsic value. For instance, grain was a staple food, salt was essential for preserving food, and livestock provided labor and meat. These commodity monies held intrinsic value, meaning they had uses beyond their function as a medium of exchange. Grain could be eaten, salt could preserve food, and livestock could be used for farming or as a source of food. This intrinsic value made them reliable forms of currency, but it also came with limitations. For example, grain could be consumed, and livestock could be used for labor or food. However, these forms of money were not always practical for larger transactions or long-distance trade. The bulkiness and perishability of these items posed significant challenges. However, commodity money was not without its drawbacks. Transporting large quantities of grain or livestock was cumbersome and inefficient. Additionally, these items could spoil or die, leading to a loss of value. This made it difficult to store wealth over long periods. It was often bulky, perishable, and difficult to transport. These limitations highlighted the need for a more practical and durable form of money. This is where the concept of coinage began to take shape. The transition to coinage addressed some of these issues. Coins were small, durable, and easy to transport. They could be stored without the risk of spoilage and were much more convenient for trade. Around the 7th century BC, the Lydians in modern-day Turkey are credited with producing the first standardized coins. These early coins were made from electrum, a naturally occurring alloy of gold and silver. The Lydians' innovation set the stage for the widespread use of coinage. These coins were typically made of precious metals like gold and silver, which were durable, divisible, and relatively scarce. The use of precious metals ensured that the coins had intrinsic value, much like the commodities they replaced, but with added benefits. The use of precious metals also lent itself to standardization. Coins could be minted with a specific weight and purity, ensuring consistency and facilitating trade. This standardization was crucial for building trust in the new monetary system. Coins could be minted with a specific weight and purity, ensuring consistency and facilitating trade. This consistency made it easier for people to conduct transactions, as they no longer had to worry about the quality or value of the currency they were using. This innovation revolutionized commerce, making transactions more efficient and fostering economic growth. Markets could expand, and trade routes could extend over greater distances, connecting different cultures and economies. Coins could be easily transported, stored, and counted, allowing for greater accumulation of wealth and the development of more sophisticated economic systems. This laid the foundation for the complex financial systems we have today, demonstrating the profound impact of this ancient innovation. While coins revolutionized commerce, the transportation of large sums remained risky and cumbersome. Imagine the sheer weight and volume of coins needed for significant transactions. Merchants and traders often had to hire guards to protect their valuable cargo from thieves and bandits. The logistics of moving such heavy loads were not only expensive but also time-consuming, adding layers of complexity to trade and commerce. This led to the development of paper money, a concept that emerged in China around the 9th century. The Chinese were innovative in their approach to solving the problems posed by metal coins. They began to use paper as a medium of exchange, which was a groundbreaking shift in the history of money. This new form of currency was lighter and more convenient, making it easier to handle large transactions. Early forms of paper money were essentially promissory notes issued by merchants or governments. These notes were a promise to pay the bearer a certain amount of precious metal such as silver or gold upon demand. This system required a high level of trust between the issuer and the bearer, as the value of the paper money was directly tied to the issuer's ability to honor the promise. They represented a promise to pay the bearer a specified amount of silver or gold upon demand. This promise was often inscribed on the paper money itself, detailing the amount and the terms of redemption. The use of paper money allowed for more fluid and flexible transactions, as it was easier to carry and exchange than bulky metal coins. The acceptance of paper money relied heavily on trust. People had to believe that the issuer would honor their promise to redeem the notes for precious metals. This trust was not easily earned, and it took time for people to become comfortable with the idea of using paper instead of metal for their transactions. People had to believe that the issuer would honor their promise to redeem the notes for precious metals. This trust was often fragile, and early experiments with paper money were sometimes met with skepticism and instability. Many were wary of the new system, fearing that the paper notes might not be honored or that they could lose their value. This trust was often fragile, and early experiments with paper money were sometimes met with skepticism and instability. There were instances where the value of paper money fluctuated wildly, leading to economic turmoil and loss of confidence among the public. These early challenges highlighted the need for a stable and reliable system to support the use of paper money. However, paper money offered significant advantages over coins. It was lighter, easier to transport, and could be produced in larger denominations, making it more suitable for large-scale transactions. This made it particularly appealing for merchants and traders who needed to move large sums of money quickly and efficiently. It was lighter, easier to transport, and could be produced in larger denominations, making it more suitable for large-scale transactions. The convenience of paper money helped to facilitate trade and commerce, allowing for more dynamic and expansive economic activity. This, in turn, contributed to the growth and development of markets and economies. Governments eventually recognized the potential of paper money and began issuing their own banknotes backed by their reserves. This move helped to stabilize the value of paper money and build public confidence in its use. By backing the notes with their reserves, governments provided a guarantee that the paper money could be redeemed for precious metals, thereby reinforcing the trust in the system. This state-backed paper money gradually gained wider acceptance, paving the way for modern monetary systems. Over time, the use of paper money became more widespread, and it evolved into the complex and sophisticated monetary systems we have today. The leap of faith taken by early adopters of paper money laid the foundation for the global economy, demonstrating the power of innovation and trust in transforming the way we conduct trade and commerce. Section 4. Banking on Trust. Safeguarding wealth and facilitating commerce. The development of banking systems was closely intertwined with the evolution of money throughout history. Early banks emerged as safekeeping institutions for merchants' wealth and valuables. These early banks stored deposits of coins or precious metals, and issued receipts that could be exchanged for the deposited funds. Over time, banks expanded their services to include lending and money creation, which transformed economies. They began lending out a portion of their deposits, charging interest on loans and creating new money in the process. This fractional reserve banking system fueled economic activity, but also introduced new risks and complexities. The stability of banks depended on maintaining public confidence in their ability to honor their liabilities. Bank runs, where large numbers of depositors withdrew their funds simultaneously due to fears of insolvency, could destabilize the entire financial system. This highlighted the need for regulation and oversight to ensure the soundness and stability of banking systems worldwide. Section 5. The Credit Card Revolution. Convenience at your fingertips. The mid-20th century witnessed the rise of credit cards, ushering in an era of unprecedented convenience in financial transactions. Credit cards allowed consumers to make purchases without carrying large amounts of cash. They essentially provided a line of credit that could be used to make purchases and repay later, often with interest. This innovation revolutionized consumer spending habits and fueled economic growth. The convenience of credit cards lay in their ability to defer payments, consolidate multiple purchases into a single monthly bill, and track spending patterns. However, this ease of use also came with significant risks. The availability of credit encouraged overspending and debt accumulation, leading to financial challenges for some individuals. Despite these concerns, credit cards became a ubiquitous payment method, transforming the financial landscape and consumer behavior.